What is up, everybody? This is Toffee Blues USA, your source for all things Everton, American style. I am Gerry. Joining me today again is Cameron of the Carolina Toffees, Charlotte, North Carolina. Cameron, how art thou? It's good to see you again.
Good seeing you again, Gerry. Been a couple months, and
Uh,
I feel like we've got some different kinds of questions that are going to be answered than when we last spoke in July.
Different vibes. Very different vibes.
Yeah. I have this weird thing called a smile on my face. I don't usually do this very much when I talk about this club, at least in terms of matches.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say your away kit looks awesome. It looks great. Your background is the Carolina Toffees at Queen City Bites and Crafts, right? And
yep, it's an updated background from the last one, and so this is from our meetup a couple weeks ago for Tottenham, and obviously that one went pretty well. So we can talk about that a little bit, but once again, yeah, this is Queen City Bites and Crafts in Charlotte, Uptown, which is our home again this year. Special thanks to them. So, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So I'll ask you a few more questions about the Carolina Toffees meetup here in just a little while, but I need to get to something first. So Cameron, a little bird told me, and by little bird I mean you via Twitter message, that today is your birthday.
It is number 38 today. I actually just got back here from a celebration, so I'm this is definitely something I would have wanted to do on my birthday. This is a lot of fun. I enjoy this. So
I was just like, when I found out it was your birthday, I was like, you sure you want to deal with me on this, man?
Yeah, if we were talking about maybe Friday or Saturday night, that would have been probably a different issue. But yeah, today's a good night.
Very cool. Happy 38th. That is awesome. Congrats. I wanted to do like a Johnny, what is it? The Dana Carvey, Johnny Carson impression where he's like, if you're just joining us, Ed is drunk. And I wanted to say that, like, if you're just joining us, Cameron is hammered. He's out for his birthday. He's making all kinds of crazy statements. It's awesome.
Yeah, not yet. Still early.
Yeah, there it is right there. It's that check is in the mail, folks. Just say. Very cool. So did your family sing Spirit of the Blues to you tonight?
They did it, but then again, I don't think they're quite up to speed on what's happened in the last about 48, 72 hours. Well, at least in the Brit pop charts.
I can't get over this.
and quite honestly, I was a little late to this as well because being over here, I had not realized what was going on, and then all of a sudden every video on social media suddenly had the same music background to it, so it just took off.
It is the silliest, most hilarious thing. I am so proud of this, that this is the team, this is my team. I'm so proud of this. It's such a silly thing, man, and so many people are like taking it seriously from some of these other teams. Like, some of them are totally right in line. They're like, yes, this is funny, good stuff, everyone. And then there's others like, oh, they're celebrating winning 3 games. I'm just like, we are feeling good. That's right. I mean, that's not what a celebration looks like for us. You should wait till we really get started. This is
I believe some of the fans who are taking it a little too seriously are also the ones that say that they're going to win the league after September, so on most years. So it's it's fun to like goof. It's fun. First of all, it's fun to be winning, and it's fun to be having a lot of fun with it too. So
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it's not just Spirit of the Blues. It's a theme from Zed Cars. And was it Here We Go? Is that the other one?
Here We Go.
It's just.
And Howard Way is now one of the top downloaded movies again.
Yeah. It's just it's good. It's really good energy. It's good feeling stuff. And I got to be honest. Yeah. So those videos, okay, I went on a tear, like, was it last night or the 2 nights ago, where I was watching nothing with those videos, and my kids would come up behind me and just start watching them with me, and I would just be sitting there like, like giggling, and my wife would come in and be like, "You're watching another one, aren't you?"
Well, they keep making.
And they're so good.
And they get even crazier with each one. It's like now that I think the Van Damme one had me on the floor because with from I think not Bloodsport, the I don't know if you've seen it yet, but Kickboxer when he's dancing dancing to the jukebox scene.
I have not seen that, and I'm so excited. I've been watching these just absolutely obsessively, man. So I was watching those, and the one Carlton from Fresh Prince, that one's great. Okay, when he's doing his Tom Jones thing normally, So that one's so good. The Home Alone one is great, where so it's Pesci and oh gosh, with Daniel Stern outside in their van. They pull up, and it's when they're playing like rocking around the Christmas tree. And they just adjusted the volume, like they could hear it outside, and then you cut in and you see the Michael Jordan poster going by. Oh, it's brilliant, man. It's so good. So good. And the Back to the Future one is great. There's a funny SpongeBob one. And I will say the American Psycho one is extra spicy.
In the apartment.
Oh my God. So yeah, that one. Gerry started watching that with a kid watching and had to turn it off really fast.
As soon as I get done with this, that's I know exactly what I'm going to start doing. So.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah. So yeah, it's just really, it's awesome. The guy, is it Finn Kitch, I guess is, the one, he's getting like interviewed and stuff, and he's like such a like, he's underplaying it, just seems like a good sport, the whole thing is the fact that national news is taking it on, it's just.
Yeah, I saw BBC Sport was going to talk to him, I think, today.
Yes. And he was kind of like, seriously? Yeah, that's great.
Guys, this is a joke.
Yes. So yeah, and actually, what's really funny is the very first one is one of my favorites, the one with those apes dancing and doing all those dance moves. I showed that one immediately to my kids, and my whole family was just like rolling. And yeah, I still go back to that one. Just saying. So anyway,
the joke, and then the final one was the Tony Bellew did the Joker scene, and that one I have to go into.
Yes, that one was good. That one was really funny. It's funny. The cool thing is, like, every time I think, oh, here's a dance scene, wonder if anybody's going to do that Pulp Fiction dance contest. Oh, they did it. Good. And there it is. Stuff like that. It's just, there's always some good folks out there fighting the good fight.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, good for them. I just don't have that kind of creativity.
I get all paranoid that if I do one, then somebody's like, oh, I already did that. I'm like, you're right, you did. An hour before me. I am sorry.
You stole. Give me credit. I'm like,
give me credit. Give me my credit. Like, I will. I made this, but I will. Okay. Anyway, so good vibes all around. It's a good time. And frankly, it's nice to be having these kind of conversations. You're right. This is cool, and we're gonna actually get even more in depth on the football, where the conversation can actually continue. It can still be good vibes, which is nice, friends. Okay, so anyway, so that's the end of my introduction. So let's really quickly sum up what's going on coming up. Really quick, we're gonna do a Palace reaction because that happened. Happened, and it didn't make us want to bash our faces in. It was actually not the worst thing for us. And we need to talk about upcoming Carabao Cup match with West Ham, upcoming league match with Brighton. May get into a little bit of transfer window stuff when we delve into the mailbag. But it is a mailbag segment coming up near the end. Some folks on Reddit submitted some questions, and we're going to answer them. And that'll be the end. And then Cameron will be free to go paint the town blue. Just saying. All right. He's like, yep, I'm gonna do it.
Not,
Just saying.
not just tonight.
Pretty much from now until next Tuesday. It's all right, all right. So Palace reaction. I don't want to, if you've recorded it and haven't watched it yet. 2-1. Yeah. So sorry for the spoiler. 2-1. Everton win on a Richarlison penalty. Gameplay was really scrappy. Kind of, I don't know, not a ton of like really clear-cut chances in the game. It was it's just not a very cleanly played game. But I got to be honest, the Blues' first goal was nice.
Yeah, it was. That was one of the best team goals, not just for us. It was the best team goal I thought all the whole weekend and maybe the season so far. That from start to finish, that was about as good as I've ever seen them play in a very, very long time in terms of build up from the back and all the way to the finish from DCL. I mean, it was I remember they kept showing the replay of Jaimes going through the defender's legs, and every time that happened, everybody at the pub was like, "Oh my gosh!" And it was just brilliant for all around. And it was one of those things where you settle down after that a little bit, because we had talked a little bit amongst ourselves at the pub. This was one of those games that was going to be tough. Palace have been in good form, and it was really a matter of, can we score first and kind of settle into this game? Because if we don't, there could be some problems, but we can get to that in a second, because Palace did settle in later on. So, but it was a brilliant goal.
Yeah. And then when Palace got their equalizer on a corner on a set play, shock me, off a dead ball corner, and Kouyaté manages to. It looked like he was set up kind of behind the keeper when the ball was being kicked, and then darted out kind of in between Keane and Richarlison and went up, and the ball sailed over Keane. And let's be honest, who's going to win that between Richarlison and Kouyaté, who is a bigger, more physical player? It seemed to me like they were a little more aware, and we didn't immediately adjust to his quick movement to get open.
Agreed. And this was a situation also where you realize that for how good Everton has started this season, they still have issues at the back. Right. And zonal marking is still a problem on set pieces. Now, I know Carlo isn't so much into that, but it's at the same time, you can tell we are still maybe a player or two away in the back to really, if we're really striving for big ambitions here in the league moving forward, you realize that first off, you have to be better at marking, because that was just unacceptable. And also we definitely still need another big man back there to in terms of providing cover. Because I know we have Mina and we have Keane. Mina's still a little inconsistent. Keane, I think, has played so much better under Carlo, like most of them.
Yeah.
But there is still those lapses that they have when they're communicating to each other on these set pieces and I'm not taking anything away from Kouyaté. He out jumped everybody and rightfully got that goal. But it's still one of those things that frustrates you, and you kind of revert back to, oh, that's right. We still need something. We still need another player back there who will provide us cover and not give us heart attacks every time that we have these set pieces.
I keep wondering, like, if we are a little more heads up at that moment, you know what I mean? And we actually pick him up and actually pick somebody, put somebody appropriate on him. It just seemed like because he was there hanging out behind the keeper, we just weren't paying attention to him, Yeah. It just seemed like we just need to continue to be a little bit more mindful of what's going on, just constantly be thinking like, oh, that guy over there who's hanging out behind the keeper, he may actually have a reason to be there. I guess just kind of be a little bit more predictive of what could actually happen. I don't know, more aware, and I think that's just going to come from continual, like, more experience. But yeah, it was a frustrating play, especially since it happened when I walked out of the room.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It also happened about, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes after I looked at somebody and was like, they're kind of settling in here.
Yeah.
I'm really, really hoping something doesn't happen in the next like 4 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah,
But there,
man.
I can
And
critical. It happens to the best of us. Every
mhm,
team this happens. You'll lose somebody on
yeah,
marking box. You just, it's one of those things where Carlo's going to look at you in training that week and be like, "Don't let that happen again."
right.
So,
Uh, so so basically the rest of the time, I mean, not a ton of chances. It was a lot of scrappy stuff, a lot of athletic play, and the game hinged on a handball call. Um, so uh, let's get your thoughts on it. I didn't want to just necessarily weigh in before you had a chance to weigh in first.
mhm.
And not that the rest of the world hasn't already weighed in, mind you, because now Everton gets a penalty and wins a game. There's something very rotten. No one likes that. And so now let's question everything,
Right.
right? So, anyway, but to be fair, I think I heard some Roy Hodgson comments, uh, and what's it, Steve Bruce comments, and honestly, they talk sense. So anyway, you go ahead, and then I'll chime in after you got that.
Sure. And there was another handball issue before that was ruled not a handball.
Right.
So, which was also the right call. And we all looked at each other and said, that's not a handball, at least
Mhm.
by what we traditionally think is a handball. He's
Right.
not raising his hand up. He's not trying to knock the ball down. But the letter of the law now, as the FA is calling it, is that really, if it touches your hand, there's no wiggle room for the referees now.
Yeah.
And they have to do this. I don't blame the refs for it. They have to call it because if they don't, they get in trouble.
Right.
I'm sure a lot of the times they don't want to do it, but that is what it is.
Mhm.
Carlo said after the game that it's not for him to judge what's going on. He kind of insinuated it's disappointing, though. What he didn't go as far as Steve Bruce did to say they have to have they need to meet with the FA and really go over this. But
Mhm.
you could tell Carlo was a little hesitant to go into it and really say that it was the right call. And that's kind of where we all were too, and myself included. There was actually a Palace fan at the pub. All you can really do is look at him and say, kind of shrug and say, sorry about that, but it is what it is, and that's
Yeah.
the rule. Uh, we look, we'd have been furious if it had happened to us, and
Mhm.
it's just, you're right. In the past, this goes against us every
Yeah.
single time, and the fact that it didn't go against us was A, shocking,
Yeah.
and B, I think it's shocking to the rest of the country, and
Yeah.
that's why they're yelling about it. And now they're wondering, wait a minute, does this rule actually work? And then there's the conversation that everybody's going to have is like, do we need to get rid of it? It was like, well, you kind of are in that bed now. You can't just retroactively say it's, you know what, we're going back to the old rule, because then you're going to have a whole new can of worms. But
Mhm.
bottom line is, by the letter of the law, that was a handball. I don't agree with this new interpretation of it, but it is what it is. We did get a penalty out of it, and most importantly, Richarlison converted it, because that was actually the
Mhm.
biggest nerve-wracking part of
Yeah.
this. Is he now going to be our penalty taker? And because it looks like at least he's cool enough to slot that one home, and we kind of did the light clap after it was over. We didn't go in berserk or anything, but
Yeah.
it was relief more than anything else.
Yeah. Those kind of run-ups just absolutely do my head in, man.
Yeah.
I'm just like, can't we just go kick the ball? This little, you know what I mean? Like it's almost like they're playing Nintendo on one of those power pads when you have to sit there and do it like that. Really, back in the day, oh my gosh, it absolutely kills me. And I'm just sitting there thinking, if my kids start doing that on their penalties, yeah, we're gonna have problems. I'm gonna send Richarlison. You will get letters. Okay.
Him with Pogba.
Oh my gosh. It's just like, if it works for them, cool. It's just, it messes with me because I'm just like, I've seen so many miss like that. And I feel like if you're going to do a fancy run up, just never miss, man. Never miss.
This is you and me, like, get off my lawn type thing. Just run up and kick
Yes. So like that. Oh, but yeah, man, I'm with you. I think, the interpretation now, they talk about making your body bigger. You know what I mean? And if you handball it and your hand is against your side, or if it hits your arm, they're not supposed to really call that a handball, right? But to be fair, dude's arm was like this. And is this a natural position to like squat and get ready? Yeah, I'm doing it right now, just naturally, just doing it. It is sort of a natural thing to do, but I'm making my body bigger, aren't I?
Yeah, I mean, literally, yes, you are.
Yeah.
And we're seeing too many instances where the human body cannot physically do what it wants to do. If you're jumping in the air, for instance, like we saw in another match this past weekend, what is the guy supposed to do? Former Evertonian, by the way, who was penalized for that in the Tottenham match, where he's jumping up to try to, and as soon as that happens, his arms are like this. I mean, what is he supposed to do? That's how everyone, when they're jumping up to do something.
But he's backwards.
And he's like right. And he doesn't even know where the ball is.
How is he going to have time to move? That's the thing that startles me. Like, that used to be a part of this interpretation. It used to be a part of this rule. If you don't have time to move, and I got to be honest, like, I didn't think, was it Ward? I don't think he had time to move.
He didn't.
I don't. But that's not a part of the rule anymore.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so it is a rule issue. We've been asking for, hey, give us a blanket thing, something that makes sense. And now we've got it, and we hate it because it's still not right.
Still not.
No, it's definitely not. So
yeah, you don't want to let the referees continue to make judgment calls on these things, but that's kind of the point when you have three of them out there to maybe convene, have a conversation, and having talked to someone, maybe not just one person in the VAR room looking at this, maybe two or three guys looking at it and maybe they have to make the decision anyway. If the VAR is called, why not have three people looking at it?
Yeah.
And making a majority decision. I mean, it's a suggestion, but at this point, I know we're starting to muddy the waters, but it's at the same time, they're already taking enough time as it is with VAR to make these calls, and they're not, honestly, it's either the calls are not being correctly made, or now we're making rules so, I don't know, like draconian to the point where you're taking a referee's judgment call out of it entirely. And it's now literally is, if you're a defender, what are you supposed to do if you're in the box and the ball's coming at you?
I think they're almost being like smart alecky. They're like, oh yeah, well, we'll give you what you want. Here you go. Here's this rule, and it's not going to be our fault because this is what you wanted. So there you go. You know what I mean? And then just kind of like, well, yep, you did it. It's kind of like the way they brought us VAR the first year. The first year of VAR was a joke. It was not implemented properly, and now this season you actually see them going over to the monitor. You know what I'd love is if we could get a feed and hear what their conversation is the way they do in other leagues. That would be rad. That right there with an old rule where you understand why they're saying no to some of these, that's not a bad plan.
Totally agree. I mean, if you can at least let managers and players hear it afterward, and then they can at least know why something happened the way that it did, and then they get an explanation. Because when you don't explain yourself, and this is an epidemic, for lack of a term, in a lot of leagues, like here and in Europe and all over the world, referees aren't being held accountable for what for very important decisions that they're making for lots of people. So, I mean, if you don't hold them accountable, then they're just going to continue to do it. And if they at least have to explain themselves, then maybe they'll think twice the next time about, when it's something that close.
Yeah, and you can actually hear the back and forth at that point. It'd be great. You could understand the thinking. You know, that was one of the things that drove us nuts last year. You'd sit there and hear them going like this, and they'd never look at the monitor. You're like, okay, well, somebody told them what to think. Good to know. Okay, let's move on. You know, it was really frustrating. But
Right. And then constantly when they would just tell the managers and players to get away from them and not explain it.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, by the way, as a side note, can we do the referees a favor and not have them look like such idiots in their outfits? I think somebody needs to make we need to make a statement for them, because no one can. They look cool? Can they get kitted out, please? You know, I feel like that's half of it, because they look so obnoxious sitting there, you know, with the it's awful. You know, somebody needs to sponsor the refs and throw them a bone, please.
Well, it's like, why is it always like a bright neon color that they have to wear? Pink or yellow, or I mean, not this yellow. I'm talking like just a highlighter color every time that they're out there. And it's, you're right.
It's always somebody who looks like the kid in class who reminds the teacher she forgot to give the homework. That's what their kids look like. Their kids look like that every time. You look like that kid every time, refs. So yeah. Anyway, it's just driving me nuts. Anyway, it would make me feel better. And one last thing, let's get back to the football really quick, because I feel like we've dwelled on the refs and the rule long enough. Can I just say, my play of the game, Decore, tracking down Zaha, and not just knocking it away, but getting possession of it and passing it out. All right, holy crap, that guy. He's not perfect, but plays like that are just.
He is everything advertised as a box-to-box midfielder, and he has saved our behinds a couple of times already this season by tracking back and taking out the guy with the ball.
Yeah,
was the latest victim of that, and he interesting comments he made. I think it was yesterday, saying that that's just tip of the iceberg with me.
Right.
So
I like that attitude too.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, look, I got a lot of improving to do. I love that.
Yeah. So I'm very excited. I know that, we can talk for 2 more podcasts about Jaimes, and what he has done.
Yeah.
But the important positions we desperately needed: defensive midfield and box-to-box midfield play. And we've got that in Allen and Decore respectively. So those guys are 2 guys that you do not want to mess with when you get into the final third of our group, because if you can somehow get past Decore, which has not been very often, then you deal with Allen behind him. So it's they have been everything and more in terms of advertised.
Yeah, they gelled so quickly and been exactly what we need. I celebrated that Decore play like a goal, man.
Oh,
I really did.
I think that was the loudest we cheered, like aside from the brilliant goal, the team goal at the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, we cheered just as loud as Decore took that ball away from Zaha.
Yeah, nice. Very cool. All right, so anything else on Palace, or you feel like we're good at the moment?
Yeah, I think that we beat the handball into the ground enough, like everyone else has. So, but yeah, overall, just a summation. Great team win, gritty win, like you said. It was very scrappy. Yeah. That's the kind of wins that we're going to probably see a lot of, or games that we're going to see a lot of this season. We're just going to have to gut it out for 90 minutes against teams that are going to try and fight tooth and nail against us, and it's going to be just a knockdown drag out. That's how the Premier League is. I like those games against West Brom, for instance, where it's 5-2 a scoreline, but that's not going to happen very often. Right.
It's not realistic to expect that. And, the idea of being able to grind out a win against a very good Palace side that I think a lot of Everton supporters respect. I don't think we walked out of there thinking, oh, we were comfortable. No.
I mean, we'll never probably be that way. but yeah, two road league wins. That's a big deal.
That is a heck of a start. All right, moving on from Palace. Wow, that was bad. It hit the camera and everything. There we go. All right, so coming up, we have tomorrow, which tips the hand on. So when you're watching this, hopefully it's tomorrow, which would mean the game is today. Hey, so Carabao Cup, West Ham, who I got to be honest, when I saw the draw, when I saw who we would play, my immediate reaction was, oh, it's not that bad. Okay, I don't like doing that. I don't like having that thought. I want to think, oh, that's going to be a tough one. We're going to, I want to get myself mentally prepared for it. You know what I mean? And not like, so, and then I said that, and then I look at their past two results. Okay. Their previous match, 4-0 win over Wolves, which in WTF news, you're kidding. All right. So no one on earth understands that result. And I feel like scientists 10 years from now will be studying that. Before that, they got a 5-1 win over Hull, a little bit easier to understand. All right. Haller, or Halle, I'm going to mispronounce that left and right. And Yarmolenko, I think you could see being, because I think both of those guys started in their last cup match. And I think Yarmolenko normally subs in their league matches. But Haller is getting goals lately and looks pretty good. And I could see Yarmolenko being a problem just because he always is for us. He is always a problem for us.
Yeah.
So
what did we say before the Bournemouth match? And when I last talked to you, who was always the big problem for us with Bournemouth? Junior Stanislas.
Stanislas, yeah.
In that game.
Yeah, I remember because both of us were like, can we ignore that guy? You cannot. You have to say his name.
No. And David Moyes is starting Yarmolenko tomorrow. He'd be an idiot not to.
Yep.
It's that guy. Loves playing us. Always has from his Kiev days.
Yep.
And he, I think maybe it's because, I don't know if it's some sort of thing where we were trying to buy him and it fell through. Maybe he has a grudge against us, but whatever it is, I remember him smoking us at Goodison last year.
Yeah.
And so it was, I'm mentally preparing for him to be in the lineup as he should be. And again, yes, this is a match on paper that we should win. I know Carlo wants to rest some of the guys again before Saturday, but even with the group that he will trot out tomorrow, it should still be a much stronger team than the one West Ham will trot out. But again, as I said, we are going to be facing off as if we continue to win games. Everybody is there's a target that goes on our back, and everyone's going to be gunning and trying to knock us out of this tournament.
Right.
So this is a golden opportunity for West Ham to try and do this. And they've had success against us in the past. I think what I meant to say, West Ham with Goodison was 2 years ago when they defeated us. And that was a 2-0 victory for them, and Yarmolenko went nuts. And
honestly, the Yarmolenko's successes against us have just blended all into one big long game for me.
That's the thing, and I should have known that because I was actually at the West Ham game at Goodison last year, which was a lot better result. But it was 2 years ago. But again, not taking anything away, you're right. What they did, I don't understand at all. 4-0 Wolves. I mean, yeah, it was at their home, but at the same time, are you telling me that Jota leaving Wolves was made that much of a difference? Because it couldn't have. I just don't know. It's just one of those games that made absolutely zero sense. Watching the highlights of it, like Wolves just did not even show up for that match. But it's a new day, and they're going to have a lot of confidence coming in here tomorrow. So I see Carlo, and I sent you what the lineup I think he's going to trot out. I
was about to ask you about that right now.
I think he's going to trot out a very similar group, save for maybe a change in goal, not because he doesn't have confidence in Jordan Pickford. I think it's because he really needs to see what he's got behind Jordan. And since Joao Virginia's not been in the lineup the last couple of games, even after some very good games in net in the cup matches, you figure it's got to be Losel. at some point. He's been in the squad. He's been with the team now over a year, and he's not played 1 minute for us.
Right.
So you figure this is going to give Losel maybe an opportunity to get some game time so he can either go out on loan or get sold, or just prove that he's the backup and then send someone else out on loan. So I feel like if there's any time that Losel's going to get one game for us, it's tomorrow, and to prove himself basically. But that's really for me the only change I would make from last Wednesday's game against Fleetwood. So because watching that game against Fleetwood, they were flawless. They played extremely well from start to finish, save for just shipping those goals in, which made no sense at all. And so, but
Pickford throwing one in his net, you know.
He literally did, and I just didn't.
Yeah.
I just don't get it, because once again he played a lot better against good competition last Saturday, but I just sometimes I don't know what goes through that kid's head. And
I think it's a concentration issue with him, right? It's just he looks past. I don't know if he's mentally prepared for certain opponents. I think he gets overconfident at certain times, and his play suffers because of it. When he feels like he's got something to prove, I feel like he's doing a lot better, you know? And I think the games where he doesn't feel like he's got anything to prove, like when he played against Newcastle that time and he just looked awful, he was emotionally just a wreck, and it put him off kilter. And that was one of the worst games I've seen one of our keepers play, just mentally, you know?
Publicly stating things like the Newcastle fans got to him. It's like, well, that's good, because now they know that.
Yeah.
So,
you know?
But not to dwell on that, but yeah, starting my 11 for tomorrow would be everybody that, just like last time, Nkunku left back because he played amazingly down the left side again when given that opportunity with Richarlison. Dean kind of a center back hybrid. He almost moves behind Nkunku though, almost a 3-5-2 in a way.
Hold on, Nkunku, right? Not Lukaku, right?
Yeah.
I thought you said Lukaku, and I was like, wait a minute, when did that happen?
Nkunku. But yeah, that left side attack with him and Richarlison has looked very strong. It almost makes you think that not too far down the road that could be an option in these big league matches. So I'm very excited. That's just a steal. It looks like for bronze in terms of, absolutely nobody knew who that was, save for people in the French that know the French league really well.
Right.
Knew who he was, and he is everything that we could have ever asked for in terms of cover behind Digne. So I think everybody that started on Wednesday, with the exception maybe of Pickford, will be getting the start, I think, tomorrow.
So, question: did Iwobi start the last match, the Fleetwood match, or did he come in as a sub?
Oh, you're right. I think he did come in as a sub.
Was Walcott starting instead, or who was the other?
Came off, and
I
think early, and Iwobi subbed in, and I have Iwobi starting over him on the right. So I think it just, he looked good in the Fleetwood match. He does game time. I think a lot of people seem to be more positive about him now that over the last couple of games that he's been able to get into. He seems to have worked himself in there. He was all over the place against Fleetwood, like on the ball, going from right to left. I think he's really bought in, like everyone else has, to Carlo's system. So it's encouraging to see, because everyone was saying just a month ago he's got to be sold. So
yeah, he's an interesting one for me. I read an article where he was talking about Arsene Wenger, talking about his best position, and Arsene Wenger was, he tried him in a lot of different places, and he was talking about how great Arsenal is because they try you a lot of places, and they really give you opportunity to play as a young player. And he said Arsene Wenger decided that his best position was a 10 playing on the wing and coming in. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so that's what it seems to me. That's the way James plays, right? He's not a traditional wing player. He may start on that side, but he's drifting in, and I feel like that's what Iwobi needs to do. He's not really one of those Walcott like speed down the line, get across, or try to beat them behind and then get a quick shot kind of guys. He's very much cut in and try to make things happen, but somewhere in that middle, in that central area, right? And so I think he makes a lot happen when he plays that role. But when he's trying to play that winger, just going down and crossing back, I don't. I think he's totally unimpactful every single time.
It's true. Yeah. And you're right. When he was impactful against Fleetwood last week, it was because he was sitting pretty much almost behind DCL
Mm-hmm.
and being able to, feed him in and then take off maybe a little bit down the right to help him out inside the box. But yeah, the winger role that Silva tried with him last year was a mess, and it's
Yeah,
clearly
totally.
not where he's supposed to be. But yeah, the nice thing is that, and you watched it a lot, and you see it a lot against a team like Fleetwood because they had to almost all of them had to interchange with each other because they were in almost unnatural spots to a degree because
Mm-hmm.
of how much he was trying to change up the side. So everyone was working really well together in assisting. Bernard was all over the place. I thought he
Bernard. Oh yeah.
had to mention
My
him because he's
gosh.
playing
Yes. He
incredibly
looks
well.
so good. He looks so good in this new role, in a
Mm-hmm.
very new role.
Yep.
Love seeing that.
It's awesome to see him down. Like he kind of is also he's on the flip side of Iwobi, where he's kind of filling in on the left hand side a
Mm.
bit, but kind of more centralized. And when you see that three-headed monster coming at you with Nkunku, Bernard, and Richarlison all converging on that side of that that side of the field, it could be a little disconcerting, especially
Yeah.
for even
Yeah.
season right backs.
So you're thinking Iwobi starts over Walcott, and you're thinking Losel starts over Pickford.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a toss-up between Walcott and Iwobi at this point. They both need game
Hmm.
time to
Yeah.
really prove themselves, and I think Losel really just because he's not played for us yet, and
Right.
if there's one chance he's going to get from this point forward between now and probably the end of the year, it's this, unless Pickford gets hurt, and so that's it.
Yeah. It's probably the only place I would differ on you there. I'd probably say Pickford's going to start just because I feel like Ancelotti is kind of like, I want to give him confidence. I want him to
Mhm.
keep building his confidence. But you never know because he's talking about, yeah, he's got my confidence. He's my number one guy. We're not looking for a keeper, and you never know if he's saying,
Yeah.
don't come make a bid for him, everybody. You know what I mean? So it's we're definitely not trying to get Sergio Romero. So that's the. I don't know if that's actually true, but I feel like if he played Pickford in those earlier in that game last week, I got a vibe he'll play him this week. But honestly, man, it wouldn't surprise me because you're talking sense. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But I also wouldn't be surprised for those exact reasons. I think it
Mhm.
was a little shocking to me when he started him last week against Fleetwood,
I was
and
surprised as well. I was
so
as well. Yeah.
yeah, but you're wondering now because it's a good point. If he put him in there, it was his decision, and he had that confidence lapse and threw in 2 goals, and you kind of wondered, has Carlo put himself in a position where he's got to start Jordan now
Right.
in order to make sure he stays confident?
Right.
So
So. All right, so moving on to Brighton. Um, I have not been doing cup predictions because for some reason I always feel like I'm overconfident in these cup matches and I'm scared I'm going to pick huge wins. And why do I feel like I'm the jinx? I don't know. I'm very worried about it though. And it
yeah,
went well last time when we didn't predict it. So just saying. Anyway,
okay.
so Brighton comes in 12th, just a slot behind West Ham. Uh, they got 3 points. They're 1-0-2. They've lost two. The most recent loss was the 3-2 loss in the late penalty to United. I was watching that game literally because I wanted to see United not win. That's why I was watching. I wanted to see Brighton get a bright spot because, you know, I feel like they played pretty decent football this season so far. And I watched a special on their manager, and he seems like a brilliant guy. So he seems like a guy who does things differently. Um, but then they got that late penalty, and I was just like, oh, good, yeah, good thing I was watching.
Yeah.
So before that, they beat Preston North End 2-0 in the cup, and before that, they beat Newcastle 3-0 in another crazy result. I think when you look at their lineup, you could be looking at Matt Ryan, White, Duncan Webster, maybe three in the back, Lamptey on the side, Lallana, Basuma, Alzate, and then on the other side, Solly March, Mope, and Trossard up top. I think if you look at Dangerman, you got to look at Lallana just because we know that he's a confident player with experience in the league. You got to look at Lamptey and Solly March, who played well last week, and I feel like Mope has found ways to score recently. He's just got a nose for the goal. So is there any other players where you feel like, or any specific player where you're like, I'm thinking about that player, I'll be watching that player? Anybody at all that I didn't mention, or somebody I did?
Well, I'll do someone you did and someone you didn't. Someone you did mention that is always, when healthy, is a problem for us when he's on the pitch. And when he was at Liverpool, that's Adam Lallana.
Yeah.
He's obviously with the most experience in this club, and he's one of those. He's almost just one of those guys that continually runs around. He's a field general out there. He's directing traffic, so to speak. There's a lot of young guys around him that he's trying to be able to help, and you can already see that his leadership is working because they are such a first between him and I think Graham Potter, the manager you mentioned. He's a very, very well-rounded guy. Tactically, he is sound. You watch that against United, and they're so good on set pieces. They're so good on attack. And that's something that worries me a little bit as they move forward, because they will try. They know we're vulnerable back there a little bit. So they've got a lot of big players. You mentioned they'll cause us problems in the back if we don't deal with them.
Right.
But yeah, focusing in on Potter and Lallana. And then, of course, I want to mention Matt Ryan, because the keeper, you did mention them. But I think he is such a solid keeper. He's one of those guys that kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit when they start talking about the great keepers of the Premier League. But maybe it's where he plays, or the fact that he's not flashy or anything like that. But he is one of those just solid backstops, that doesn't make mistakes. I remember there have been games with him involved where he just stands on his head against us, and it's amazing saves. I feel like he really controls the box in front of him very well. That they're very compact in front of him. I think he directs everybody in front of him very well. So he's somebody that impresses me a lot. As far as just attacking players and moving forward, you bet the guys you mentioned and Lallana especially are who are going to cause us the most problems.
Against United, they hit the post, the woodwork. It was just over and over. It felt like it was like 5 times. Yeah. I mean, it seemed like they were a little unfortunate not to get more goals in that game. So thinking about our lineup, can we just go ahead and say and agree nothing will probably change?
I think so. It's just you always, at this point of as October hits, you start praying for no training injuries.
Yeah, and good point. Yeah,
that's where you start the fatigue starts. But we've had the nice luxury of resting players midweek. Right. So yeah, it's another, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't foresee any reason why that he can't trot out the same guys he's trotted out the last few weeks on the weekends. This group has shown that it can adjust to whatever formation it's up against, whether it's Spurs and their high line press, whether it's Palace who presses but then also likes to defend, play back a little bit, whether it's West Brom and how compact they play and play at they have faced very different types of style of play in these first 3 weeks and have exploited all of them to a degree. Right. So that gives me a lot of confidence. And I know, I would say normally when it being at home, that would be also a huge advantage for them. But without the fans, that kind of lessens it a little.
Right.
But at the same time, I go into this match. I actually go into this match a little bit more confident than I do with this West Ham match tomorrow, just because I feel like there's as much as they could get troubled maybe in the back a little bit with some of these big players that Brighton has. I feel like once they're able to figure out a team like Brighton and be able, if they can keep their attack away from the net and just kind of push them off like they've been able to do, like Digne and Keane and Coleman especially, who's had an absolute resurrection of his career this season.
He looked amazing.
Yeah, if they can continue that kind of work back there, along with having Doucouré and Allen with them, and then start playing that high line that they really started to exploit with James and Doucouré, of course, and moving everybody up top. I really do have good confidence that they are going to come away with 3 on Saturday.
My confidence against Brighton over my confidence against West Ham is completely due to the starters. It is completely due to I have stronger confidence in this starting lineup than I do in the other starting lineup. Period. That's it. Do I think the other starting lineup is winning my confidence gradually? Yeah, I think we're developing a system. But some of those players are some of the players that we had issues with last season, and they have to sort of win my confidence back. Not that that's what their aim is. They're not aiming to please me, unless the point of the Premier League is very different than I understand. But yeah, I just feel like, I look at the fact that Delph is probably going to be in the starting lineup against West Ham, and last season, not really a good thing. Sigurdsson was sort of inconsistent. So it was just, there are things like that where I'm kind of like, it wasn't. I don't really have the confidence that I have in these starters yet. Do I think they're gradually coming together? I look at Sigurdsson. He's slotting into our system now, and I feel like we have more faith in him. We have faith in him as a sub in these games against Brighton. He's looked good. I mean, he's looked good in league matches when he comes in and does a job. Well, it's been better, is what I'll say.
It's been much better, and because he's playing his natural position, and he's playing the 10 role. He's behind the striker, and every time that we get a free kick near the box, there he is. If he's on the pitch, and he's delivering a pinpoint, cross in for a free kick into the box. That the only reason it doesn't go in is because either somebody missed it or someone was offside, and that was it. I mean, he's been it's another guy who's had kind of almost a resurrection under Carlo. Carlo has a knack for this, as we've been told when he first arrived.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, as people are still upset with how much we paid for him. But again, I remember when we got Gylfi and how much we thought, boy, this is going to turn our team completely. Right. And the fact that he wants to come here.
Right.
And obviously it's been a few years, and but now he has the right system and the right manager, and it's amazing. I mean, you could say that about 8 of our players that are out there right now. So.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if Sigurdsson were to start instead of Gomez on this weekend against Brighton, I'm not immediately going to go, just because of what's been happening lately, because he's been slotting in, because he's getting my confidence back, So speaking of our confidence against Brighton compared to our confidence versus West Ham, prediction for the score.
Yeah, just on final note on that, if these teams were flipped, I mean, I would be concerned about Brighton tomorrow. I
would agree. I agree. I fully agree. Yeah.
Much more so than if we played West Ham this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just where we are. I mean, I'm inching closer, like you, to being more confident in the weekday team versus the weekend team.
Right.
But I'm always going to have way more confidence in this group that's playing Saturday at this point. As far as my prediction, this is actually the first time I've been able to do this. So hopefully I'm right. I'm not going to. I still think Brighton is going to come out. I think they're going to be wary of the fact that we are going to play a high press. They're going to probably sit back a little bit. They know they're going to have to attack us at some point. It kind of feels like when we played like Palace in a way, that if we get off to the good start, that it could settle us in. But I'm always aware of the fact Brighton does have that capability to come back at you real quickly, like they did, for instance, against United. I'm going to say that this is going to be, I won't say too high scoring. I think this is going to be, I think we're going to win this game 3-1. That was my initial reaction.
I don't know if you can read that. There's a 3 and a 1.
Hey, and we didn't plan this. We didn't plan this.
No. I feel like every time I'm picking scores lately, I'm picking the same scores the person I'm doing the show with. Oh yeah, you're here for the variety, everybody. Gosh.
For this season, 3-1 is not a high-scoring game.
No, I would still be like really happy with that score. Yeah, but anyway, okay, cool. Well, that's yeah. Hopefully, Blues live up to that. Our predictions. We'll see what happens. We're good on that. Now, mailbag time. All right. I need to start. These are all 3 questions that came in on Reddit. Toffee Blues John sent out a carrier pigeon out into the ether and said, "Hey, we need questions for Gerry and Cameron." And these are the 3 that came back. The first one, I'm just gonna say it, is really hard. Just saying. Kind person 9 Yoshi 5 asked a question about our struggle to shift out players and the fact that we're bringing in players and financial fair play. And I got to be honest, if I gave a serious answer to this, I think it would be part bullshit. So I'm just going to say it. I mean, it's a serious question, and it's a very Everton business matters type question, but I think it's one that I wish I had a little bit more ability to answer. All I can say is I think we are going to see some of these players leave, even if it's just on loan. And the hope is Marcel Brands, that guy right back there, for those of you who are asking for the altar to come back, the shrine, the Marcel Brands shrine, right over there. The hope is that a guy who got the 3 players he did for the price he did can figure out a way to shift some of these folks. I can see. I don't know. I'm worried about it too. I'll be honest. All right. Because you see some really intelligent people talking on Twitter about it. And about how we need to balance things out, and I feel like they're smarter than I am, especially about this kind of stuff. And if they're worried, yeah, I'm gonna be a little worried. Does it kind of pee in my cornflakes a little bit? Yes, because I'm excited because players. Are you kidding? But there is that realistic part that's kind of like, I would like, if we were to somehow get into Champions League, for us to actually be able to play. You know what I mean? Yeah. So do I know how it's going to happen? No. But do I think we're going to get at least 2 players before the end of the window? Yes, I do. Do I have any inside information? No. All right. Not at all.
Well, this is the part of the pod where people should know that if you thought we planned everything with the score line being the same, now you will know that we did not plan any of this, because that's a very, very tough question. First off, yeah, I have confidence with Bronze because of what he's accomplished. Well, let's just say in the last 2 months, 40 million for 3 players is unheard of nowadays, especially 3 players of that caliber that he just got.
Oh,
So
and Cuckoo for the price he got too. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
that guy. Yeah.
exactly.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt,
Oh,
but I just had to
of
say
course.
that.
Oh, he's going to be playing tomorrow. We got to include him.
Yeah.
Uh, but he's instilled confidence, I think, in the entire fan base that he can keep us well within financial fair play while still getting revamping the squad and shipping out players that don't need to be here.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, it's one thing to do what, and I'll mention them because they deserve this. But Manchester City, who just dropped another 70 million on a player today, with us now on, was it over 400 million in
Mm.
just defensive players in the last 4 years. I mean, if you want to go down that road and really, really draw FIFA's ire, but then use your attorneys to get you out of it, that's your deal. I would prefer a club that, Everton has been a little bit too much of free spenders in the last about 3 years. They've not been very good with their spending, but that seems to have changed in the last year, like it's got 365 days.
Mhm.
And I like for it to somewhat go back to that, where we start finding these gems again for bargain bin prices, where we know these guys are good. We are good at having our scouting department should be the best in Europe or best in England. I remember Everton in the early days when I started watching them under Moyes. They had no money, but they would go into all ends of Great Britain to find some of these guys that you'd never heard of, and they end up being these incredible players and ambassadors for us. And
Using Football Manager. It's all you need is Football Manager.
you got to do now. So, but I like where we seem to be heading, which is almost a hybrid. We're a club now that does have money, has an owner that has the capability to back us or back the manager when he asks for something. But I also would like to be able to be the club that we once were, that was able to also go out and find those gems and
Right.
combine that and
Right.
be able to say you're still kind of the people's club in a way, where we still have Seamus Coleman starting for us
Yeah.
60 grand.
Yeah.
So but to answer his question, I think moving forward, I think we have the right person in charge in Browns. We have obviously the right manager. I think we are going to be okay in terms of making sure that we stay within the rules and while still strengthening the squad. And I think moving forward, this is the right strategy. If it's a long answer, but yeah.
Yeah, Yoshi, if you're out there, I will say I'm concerned, and we'll see how concerned I need to be when the end of the window, because I think there's been the windows even closed.
Mhm.
So I'm kind
A top six finish in the league would be
my answer, which
The goal that I think it was Arteta scored to and jumped right in. I mean, that's got to go down. Every year and then sustain it by spending halves are all taken care of. Because other than that, that's when you nodded your head, so like at least for the second half of the year. But if he can't The answer that Roger gave was everybody plays, all the kids play. So
Yeah.
on Saturday.